of the school board. Would we all rise, please? Say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are now going to break into supper, and so we'll take a little break till 6 o'clock, and then we'll be back in session.
That's the easiest way.
Yeah,
for you. So far,
I got these. Thanks, John.
We lived there. We lived there far longer than anyone else. With the outcomes outside of the railroad stoppers, so they didn't walk by max after 6 years.
Well, the numbers in our product set are different. According to how the houses are made. And so it's very confusing. must not have as much claws. You know, then when you get to the hospital.
Yeah. Well, is that up in Southwest or?
Yeah, it's called Western medicine. You'll call it back.
Okay. But I was, there's no public. I was there so many years ago. Exactly.
Hey, how are you? I'm going to make it so.
Always.
I'm not, who brought my copy here? We're board meeting.
Multiple times a day, like talk to other people.
Yeah.
I go to people,
I don't remember who's taking before.
Is mine. Right? Talk about that. How old did you say, 2?
really fun age.
Since you asked for a strange.
Okay.
Laura, is there anything we can talk about in the next board?
They're not all funny, there's an extra one.
Or any questions that we do?
I think so.
I talk about my grandson.
Yes.
This is in the small.
Oh.
Yeah. He is all the way.
Busy.
Trucks and running and jumping and climbing on the couch, jump off the couch and he laughs and smiles all the time. It's like, okay.
Only grandchild?
Only grandchild, the youngest is very, well, we have a pseudo granddaughter who's getting, and she has a 5-year-old. So, hopefully, so we do that.
I always do my turn. Like, those are too cool for dinner. Like, I couldn't even come home a half hour. I'm like, you like, Frank can do whatever they want.
Oh, yeah.
It's always, where you mom? It's like, sure. Oh, cool. You are not the same people that were in my house.
But raised me, right?
Yeah.
So that's the same, if I didn't create it, just so they happen first.
Right.
Your son likes school again, since he's there, or is he ready to leave?
He's kind of bounced back and forth, he's my problem child right now. Trying to figure out what he's doing in his life, but his girlfriend doesn't Spokane, so he stays in Spokane and makes it pretty serious. He likes Spokane. My brother lives in Spokane, so we got things like his two brothers, so they've all kind of gotten together from time to time. His family. So, tradition. With every college tradition where before Thanksgiving we draw names, and then if I have their name, I buy you Christmas outfit to wear to breakfast the day after Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna add it to the restaurant.
And some restaurants, and there are some, I'll show you a video, like, there's some pretty interesting outfits that they can just wear, look pretty good.
Oh, you want, okay, so no Borat?
No, for Christmas Day.
You could do a Christmas theme Borat theme.
I suppose you could, but it's really not powerful.
My niece got me a peach.
Oh, the rabbit too, on Christmas tree.
Yep.
Oh,
So I read.
Maybe you do that when you run it with both hands, so it's not.
Right, I think that's something else we.
That's fine.
There's a one to extension, I'm not sure what courses they offer. This course comes in.
Yeah, either, like, when you see here, she's,
Yeah, so that's not official.
she,
She used
I thought that we could start her medical, after my state.
That's right, it's
Back
back
home,
home, Stacy. And so now Stacy, I guess, they're all started with official.
No, they're meeting my own.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Wisconsin.
That's when she's on
I'm
there.
not sure if she's really girl. Well, she's, yeah, that sounds familiar when you say that.
It's wrong, it's wrong. I'm not gonna
You
lie.
brought it up.
I'm not lying, that's actually, I was like, something coming out, and I was like, I was like, sure, wrong, but it's bad.
Haven't been announced yet.
I intentionally did not take the marinara at lunch.
Thinking that there was lunch.
Could you get in my mark? Did you take a test?
I go around, yesterday. Tried to keep a little bit. Other than many investigations outside for this decompression.
Get the lay of the water.
Well, I think a little bit from, basically every school, but it's also.
This year.
What's the temperature?
Yeah, so again, I'm from the central, so you get snow, it's not raining snow. A little bit down, just single digits, but you never know. So that'll be interesting. But snow 6 inches yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So we are having that, I don't know if you've seen it on the news, we're having this atmospheric trough come through where we never get, we rarely get snow. We have been, it's out of 9 to 12 inches. It's just this big pressure coming through, lots of precipitation, and it melts the trees. So you get asked to do something, really weird issues.
I just remember driving down to the van.
Especially when you have the ones that.
There was 4-foot walls on both sides. And the roads were a little so green, it was really helps me there all the time. Pretty stressful.
Not too many.
We'll travel the houses really down.
There's just some time.
Okay. 15, 20 foot high walls.
And then it's hard for me to.
It's also clear passes making the kids go.
Early mornings, but it's
Those
weekend.
walls are just sliding down seats.
It would have been rough. That's my, orange marker laid out. Oh, I think I first I know it must be 10 feet.
Yeah. The worst part of the trucks is they just throw all that slush. You can't see a thing. They're going 40 and you can go faster. So I was trying to go, okay, straight, go.
Yeah.
Can't see anything, but I know I'm going straight. So
Oh, yeah, I don't like that.
Seems to be something wrong. You can't see.
We came from Rapid City one time when after the one, we took one of the crossroads across South Dakota. And we got a phone call and you could not see us. And he called me for like 60 miles or 40 miles an hour. I said, God, they say they pull over, well, he never pulled over. You know, it's not snow where it's almost not enough if it would have mattered.
we've had a little bit of just this year, with that snow that we had. We got 12, 14 inches and on earth that what hadn't been frozen at all. So then if you tried to push any, I live in the country and so I pushed some sod off and moved some sod and get some piles. And then it all melted basically. And then it froze, so now we got a good hard, and then we got a snow on top of that. So, but then it was warm enough a couple days before, so the top few inches were above freezing, so then it snowed, and then it was solid ice on top again. So we've gone through quite a few, luckily, we've got all the drivers around.
I hear a story coming. We were in this when that snow didn't go. We were done.
We just get up and go for it.
Yeah. And watch the news and be entertained, people that can, right?
April snowstorm 2 years ago. 36 inches is all they gave us.
Oh, no, we had 4. We should have 4 feet, but the snow throw machine wasn't working.
I think it just shut off at a
Yes,
certain.
Jim.
I don't get it. Close enough.
Catastrophic 48 inches
I
of
got
snow,
up
you
there.
can call it.
Yeah, I've done it just 3 times.
That's insane.
Just happy with people.
Right.
Yeah, November and have it all winter.
Right.
Well, I could have happened on March last year, because we were gone, we were in Arizona. I got the furthest, had to get on the plane, we're like, weather in North Dakota, got on the plane, circle, said we're gonna go to Bismarck, we need more fuel, but then we're gonna go back. We never got to go back. They didn't do anything for us, we had to stay overnight, we had to rent a car. Yeah, some nice shed in Malibu, with 4 people and all of our luggage. And we had to like walk our luggage from the end of our street to our house. I just couldn't get through, we didn't have a car, oh my gosh.
Oh, so you're not going back to Arizona?
Well, yeah, I'm going to go police. Okay. I'm gonna out there, so I'm gonna go surprise them and hang out with them. There she is. But yeah. And again, we just have to move the snow. Right? So we did. I don't know what to do, I guess.
You walk a half mile, you got 62 feet of snow. You get your skid steer and then follow, so you can get home. So the bike, get home, and sit, put a friend up in the pickup.
Just
I got out one time, because, you know, all I have later, had a blow and get in, but nothing was getting in there. I had, you know, got 3/4 of a 4-wheel drive.
Travis always says it's really good to know all the farmers on the road. Those who have a big old tractor that don't pull them out. Have them on seed dial. I'm stuck about 4 miles south of Walmart. They just come and help you out.
You know, when I first moved out there, it happened to me when I lived in Maine, so we had 2 feet of snow. Then the neighbor came over to the farm road, and it was like a job saying that he'd come over and I had taken me all morning to have a, you know, path just off the street. And so after I moved out, and I had a tractor, I'd come out of the machine farm, like I'd go to Mike Elgie's, mom lived way down Central Avenue, and I would go down there for the second half. Anyway, I would just start blowing, maybe, this one guy stopped me, he said, if you go down to the end of the block, he said, blow my, I'll give you anything you want. I wasn't charging anything. So I went down there, and here I got 4 feet of snow solid across there. I had to take, you know, a couple, 3 chunks of my blower, and I had a 7-foot blower. But I got it, and then I just we have been doing ourselves.
Save their last one.
Usually it works out.
Just to get here about 7:30.
Sometimes.
We always make sure we go to the end of the block about that because it's really, we want to make sure that we make some art, so we want to make sure that.
Oh.
That's
I
what
mean, that's not just wrong, but Sharon has that, Ruby has a bad one, so we're like, oh, yeah, we're like, yeah, I think people want to get to the world.
You know,
Actually,
Carol,
work, he lives on the street, so the street.
I didn't know where Field lived. Carrie and I played against each other. I said, "You can work for him." You know, that'd be pretty good for him. I didn't know where they lived. So, you know, I'm out there pulling snow. Kathy, she's making it. Jim Rossi, he said, "You were with a tractor and a blower." She said, "And you go right past her house." I said, "Shelley, you know, I have my cell phone. Come back for it, you know. I feel forward a lot.
You know, my friends that live on the northeast bypass, right up on the curb. And before we had the bypass there, I walked one time from there to Congo Road 19 and had one of my buddies pick me up in the dark, so I could go to school on time. Yeah, that's my wife would say it differently. Just wanted to get out of the house, didn't you?
But I do hate sitting there where there's snow in.
Great, I will get that newspaper and coffee, that's so important.
Oh, I have coffee at my house, I don't have to. Like, it's fine. I had to sit here on the tables, and I can fly. Anymore, you can just work, I just log on and I work from home anyways, so it doesn't really matter.
We'll get 4 or 6 inches. Not too bad. I got looked out at the deck where, we weren't going anywhere. It was the top of the rim. Over that. So I've got a little bit of slope to my driveway. It took me 2 days to get out to the street. And I put a snowboard, because I never had anything that big before. I could do this much, I had to shove it by path, I had a chance to get a path with snowboard to go through. So I pull snow in, blow it, pull snow in, blow it, then do the same, I mean, the whole driveway. I had a pretty decent sized driveway. It was, the back died.
If you need a scoop shovel, get a great.
Oh,
I got a price lawnmower late on that, but it was just too hot.
Let's wait for another 6, 7 minutes and then we'll take a break for a little bit.
So do you take off in the morning?
Whatever, no, I'm good on this part.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. But, yeah, just kind of whenever tomorrow. Yeah. No worry. Yeah. I already had a student in,
Oh, yeah.
That's my paper.
Thursday, and so let's go to Jackson, because I want to get to Missoula
Oh.
on Friday. It makes it a 10-hour drive instead of a 4-hour drive. And then I just have 6 hours. That's. Which one? Oh.
I don't know, Saturday.
They do play Saturdays. Chris, in my hand, right across her house and here, is a huge Christmas. So, I'm not gonna stop at her house.
We'll get crazy.
Oh, she's a widower, her husband had a and so I got up there, to come here, they live there. So, she's in my small. She gets up and comes her hat. And then she goes, "Okay, right for the team." Oh, yeah.
We're like, I know that.
I didn't know this about you. There's a side. It's a team thing, but boy, she loves this piece of football. You know, that's awesome. And if you saw the game, they went overtime. So, yeah, it's just crazy.
I did pretty well in the basketball. So, pretty well so far. We have kids that dunk from line to line. Was the first one or second? All three starting line dunk. Pretty unusual.
Yeah, I didn't get to that. No, they played what, how many games there? 10 games? We used the other gym, then they used.
Yeah, between all the things.
Between all the games. So we added on to the current high school, we added on another gym this last year. And so now they can play multiple games, instead of just having one gym. They can do another game going on.
Oh, you got it.
That was all part of the bond issue.
Do you have, issues getting officials?
Yeah, there's certain some classes, so it's been difficult.
And I think it has been difficult this year to get officials for the games.
We've been in the smaller schools around. They haven't even come for time.
From the same pool or?
Yeah, well, they've got ones that appoint small where they're going. Size where they're going.
It's kind of like everyone works here, it's just a really people are so busy, you know, learning their kids, or, I mean, it takes a lot of dedication and a lot, you know, just, you know, I mean, you're taking a ton of time away from your, it's like you're a coach, you have to be in everything, you know what I mean?
And there's some that rely on that for,
Yeah.
you know, they, so they'll almost every night.
Yeah.
I always thought I wouldn't mind being a football official because you work with the crowd of basketball.
Yeah, you're right there.
I'm not sure.
Good, we were best friends. One of them was referee. He'd be running by and hanging all the time. Let's wake up up there. And you just look up and
Turn
decide.
out now. If you listen to the crowd or not.
Yeah.
Even my voice falls.
Yeah. I didn't think
I'm sure they tried to tune out and it's kind of hard. You kind of wonder, just so you're willing to go a lot more. So I think people are a little braver now, like, people are like, "Ah," it's basically like, who is your mom? I think she walking away from that. Like, it's not that. Aren't you here to just enjoy it? A lot of people are willing to say a lot of stuff.
Yep.
But they really don't want to hear it.
No, no.
I want to do the job, but I'll tell you how to do it.
Henry Milky and we used who did so many games out of our field. When I was playing school, and we come up to me and say, you know, give up that base line. Oh, yeah, well, you go, I'll call the ball on you, you know, and I was like, I could give up the baseline. You know?
You do a little late kid.
Well, you just shouldn't. He, you know, they got a slip off. You know, and, I've never seen him very young.
I'll take a break and I'll be staying visit here. So you'll probably want to get ready. We need to get organized.
Yeah, go do what you gotta do all, so.
Good. Good luck. Have a good evening.
Yeah.
Thank you for being.
Yeah, thank you.
You didn't eat them all over, did you?
Uh,
Oh, you did? Oh, I saw that.
Maybe it was my salad.
Oh.
I forgot what I got. Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
My brother that was every 15. No matter what, I always like
not gonna make sense. So, here we go. All right, this is the prompt you gave us, and when I read that, I immediately saw two problems that you're asking me to address. Student attendance and parent and family engagement, all around the idea of improving student achievement, okay? So, let's talk about attendance first. When I see student attendance, I think, okay, this is a secondary issue. First of all, we all know that elementary students love to go to school. And if we have an elementary student who's not attending school on a regular basis, that's really more of a parent problem. Because unless they walk or live close enough to walk, it's the parent's responsibility to get them to school or walk to the bus or whatever the situation might be. So I'm going to focus on the secondary here. So the problem, let's look at Minot's attendance rate. And so this data comes from North Dakota Insights website, and you see the blue is the state and Minot is brown. Our attendance rate is the same as the state's. Okay, that's some information for us. Let's dig a little bit deeper. What about chronic absenteeism? Again, same as the state. Now, I don't know. To me, 20% seems high, but maybe it's not. But what that does tell me is we're probably looking at a fewer number of kids missing a lot of days, with a lot of kids missing a few days. Okay? All right, so that's more information. Let's move on. What about dropout rate? We're almost double the state. Okay, that's a concern. That's a red flag. What are we going to do about this? Let's get some more data. What about adding Magic City campuses? What does it look like? Slightly less on the attendance rate. I don't know if 2% is something to worry about or not, but it's information. Chronic absenteeism. Okay, that's a problem. That kind of confirms with we have fewer students missing a lot of days than the other way around. And the last one, dropout rate. Okay, so the dropout rate is not a Magic City campus issue necessarily, it's somewhere else in the system. Now, this is a presentation. I got 10-ish minutes to do this. We would keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper. Look at more buildings, look at grade levels to see if we can identify some more information. But at some point, we're going to have the data that we need to then do something with it. So, what do? Well, we're educators. We care about our kids. We got to go fix the problem, right? We got to make action plans and set goals and provide resources and do all kinds of stuff. And we got to be Superman and come in and save the day. And I'm going to say to you, time out. That is not what we should be doing right now. We're missing a critical, crucial step. We need to do a root cause analysis. What is causing the problem? So that's the definition of a root cause analysis, and I'll let you read it. And what we're asking is, why are students not attending school? Now we can, I don't know what the right word is, pontificate all we want as adults, but we don't know. So the one thing we would do, for sure, is create student advisory meetings. Call it what you want, I don't care what the title is. The point is that we're going to ask students, why aren't they attending school? We would identify students who are struggling to attend school. We would identify a cross-section of students who attend school regularly. And then we set up meetings with myself and others as appropriate. I probably wouldn't have building administrators there because I want the students to feel free to say what they want to say. And it could get a little dicey, but I would like probably counselors there or a counselor there. And we need to make it a big deal. So something like the principal walks up to a student and says, hey, superintendent's going to be here. He wants to ask some questions about our building. I really think you could give some great input. I'd really like to be there. Would you mind doing that? You just make them feel important, and this is a big deal. So we would create those student advisory meetings, and we would ask questions. And we start with something relatively simple, like, what do you like about school? It's pretty safe, okay? And I would not be developing these questions in isolation. These are just some sample ideas. People a lot smarter than me in the room to do this. Then we kind of delve down to, is there somebody that you connect with at the school? Do you feel valued? Do you feel heard? Do you have a special teacher that just you really like to be with? Parent, advocate, whoever's an adult in the building. And then eventually get down to, so when you do miss school, what are the reasons why? Okay? Now we could also include middle school in this, depending on what the data tells us, but basically we would set this up at all the different buildings. And what I'm thinking is something like, okay, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday we're going to be at Magic City. so that if one of those students who have a problem attending school, are struggling to attend school, hopefully they'll be there one of those 3 days. We can just grab them and bring them to the meeting and have them share with us. Now, once we do that, themes are going to emerge. We're going to find some information out. Now, this is just my guess. This is totally my hypothesis. I don't know to be accurate, but I'm guessing that we will find out that there are some issues at some of the homes. Something like maybe a high school student has to stay home to babysit the baby sister because mom and dad are working and they can't pay for daycare, so they have to stay home. Okay, we might find some of that. That's going to require a different response. We might, I'm not sure, we might get some mental health or drug abuse issue information, and then we can address those individual students and help them. But I'm fairly confident we will get one of these two for sure. They don't feel the classes they're taking irrelevant. Why do I need to take this class? I don't need that class. I'm going to go do this. So what's the relevancy here? And they have no connection with the bill. That's my guess. Now we can start working on solutions. We would create committees with all the appropriate stakeholders, parents, communities, counselors, teachers, administrators, everybody that we can get to the table. Share the results that we just found from the student advisory meetings, whatever that information is. Look at research, best practices, and start brainstorming ideas on how to solve this student attendance problem. Now, at some point, we would probably, when we started narrowing down the ideas that we thought might work, we've got to loop those students back in. All right, this is what you shared with us. What do you think about this? Do you think this would help you, attend school more often, or would this make school more relevant, or would this make school more valuable to you, whatever the issues are. And then, of course, we create action plans, create SMART goals, align funding if we have to for professional development, whatever needs to happen in order to make this work. So that's what I would do to solve or to start working on student attendance problem. Now, the next problem that I identified for you was parent involvement. And I hate to say it, but because I'm right at 7.5 minutes, we'd probably do something similar with the question of what are the obstacles that make it difficult for you to engage in your child's education, and do kind of the same process. But here's what I wanted to share with you tonight. What does the research say? And specifically, what does the research say is the most effective parent involvement strategy that they can use to help their student achieve academically in school? It's probably not what you think, because I know it wasn't what I thought. Before I tell you that, I need to explain its effect size. An effect size is the number they give for research data. And basically, 1.0 effect size means if you try this strategy, whatever that strategy is, those students should grow 2 to 3 years in a year. So very, very effective. They also say that if you have an effect size of 0.4, it is something to strongly consider. Okay? So, what is the most effective parent involvement strategy? Simply parents telling their kids how important school is to them. I really need you to do well in school. This is really important. It's going to help you in the future. So proud of the work you do. That kind of thing. That is the most impactful. And it's even more impactful with low-income families and at the elementary level. I thought that was fascinating. And that chart right there is from this book, Visible Learning, which is where I got this data from. They did a meta-analysis of thousands of different research projects for all kinds of topics, and very, very informative. So, now if you're like me, like, wait a minute, there's other strategy. What else? There's got to be some more data about this. Well, checking homework at a 0.32 effect size. I mean, not horrible, but not as effective as the 0.51. What about household rules? Okay, no TV until you do your homework. No effect in the research, according to the research. Now this one I thought was fascinating. Well, what about parents attending their child's activity in school? I was shocked by that. I did not believe that. So, I'm out of time. In summary, we would address whatever the data showed us from those student advisory meetings, and we would create action plans to start working on it. If the research is telling us the truth, we need to figure out how to help our parents learn how to support their children. So if I'm a parent and I don't know what to do to help my child, we need to start giving them information. Reach your child, have your child reach you. Just as examples. I still want to bring parents into school. I think it's important. So how do we do that? Well, if their children are on stage, so to speak, they're going to tend to come. So have student-led conferences. We have what's called a student month club. I can share with you what it is later if you'd like. Super effective bringing parents into the building. We can also look at increasing volunteerism. How can we get other adults into our buildings, like a lunch play, to sit with kids and eat lunch with them, so they see an adult that they associate as part of the school and they have a connection with somebody. And I just want to say lastly, we've talked a lot about, you've seen a lot of talk about COVID learning loss out in the system, but we also have a social emotional learning loss that happened from COVID, and we make sure we are addressing that as well. So that is my presentation. 11 minutes, that's not bad for me. So thank you. Any questions, I guess?
What was the name of the book?
Visible Learning.
Thank you.
Hadley is the last name of the guy who public research.
Describe what methods you have utilized to improve student academic achievement in your most relevant position. What was the outcome?
As the Assistant Superintendent of Student Services, I did not lead the charge in curriculum and instructional learning. We had a Executive Director of Learning and Teaching that did that. My role was more to, as a principal, take those initiatives to support staff, or as a principal, superintendent, support the principals. But here's what I know that is effective and works. First, you have to have a really well-researched, highly effective curriculum that's aligned to your standards. Then you need to create power standards for all the different academic areas. And I can give you an example of what a power standard is in a minute. Then you create in-process assessments that show us that students are meeting those standards that you're teaching. They don't have to be, every time we talk about assessments, we think day-long, 3-day-long assessments that's taking time away from instruction. It doesn't have to be that. It can be quick, short assessments on the content I just taught as a teacher. You still have to have some summative assessments, but as we're gathering that data, then we can look and see how our students progressing. Are we getting closer to reaching our district goals, which then of course would align with board goals. So that's the process that I believe needs to happen. And just as an example, a power standard would be something like 3rd grade math, students understand that fractions are a number, are numbers. 4th grade, that would flow into students understand fractions, equivalency, and how to order fractions. And in 5th grade, students understand fraction equivalency so they can add and subtract fractions. So they flow into one another, they're critical to be successful at the next level, and they're obviously critical to graduate from high school and go on to the next step of their career, college, or military lives.
What current trends in education will impact Minot Public Schools in the future? As a school administrator, what will you do for Minot Public Schools to prepare for these changes?
You got me on that one. Trends in education. The other thing I think of is we've got technology. I've been talking about it all day. I don't know that it's a trend, but it's a tool, which is all technology is, that our students need to be able to use second nature, because that's the world they're going to go into. So how can we utilize technology to make the lives of our teachers easier and to help our students grow academically? The example I've been giving all day is, as a teacher, again, I teach that lesson. I can send a question to the student's Chromebook, they can answer it, hit submit. I have data immediately that tells me, oh, class of 15 students, I got 14 that got it right, I can move on. I only got 5 that got it right, I gotta reteach. And I need to give an enrichment activity for these 5, so they're not just twiddling their thumbs. So it can help me empower me as a teacher be more flexible in my learning, my teaching. The other thing about technology that's really, I think, a game changer is it can level the playing field. So if I go home and my parents can't help me with math because it's way above their head and it's really noisy, really loud, and nobody's here to help me, well, I can go onto my iPad, type in Khan Academy, that's just one example. Well, here's the lesson, I don't understand, I don't remember how to do that equivalency fraction thing, type it in, and boom, there'll be a lesson that pops up, you can watch it. With practice questions, so you can practice. Oh yeah, that's what Mr. So-and-so taught me. Okay, I get it, now I can go do my homework and be successful. So, the only thing that's coming to mind is technology.
Can you share with us how you successfully communicate with community members, parents, and staff members?
I just thought of one from the last one, project-based learning. I love project-based learning, but I won't go into it right now. Well, so you saw my application, you saw my transition. You know that I want to go out and start having community meetings, staff meetings, community meetings, meetings with you, meeting with cabinet, meeting with administrators, asking 2 basic questions. What's great about Minot Public Schools? What are the struggles? What are the obstacles? Now, you've kind of already done that with the Rainmaker survey, so I would probably reword the questions for staff and teachers, but for the rest of the groups, I want to know what they think, because that's then going to guide the direction that we're going to head. I can't say, we need to go someplace until I know where we are. So my first goal is to know what is Minot Public Schools before we can start going any direction. Did I hit all parts of that question?
I think so.
Okay, great. Oh, no, I didn't. I want to answer to that. Sorry, thank you. Here's a piece that I think we can utilize better, not just Minot, but public education in general. The power of the union. How can we use Facebook, Twitter, Instagram? I understand we have Parent Square. Find a platform and really make a push to get parents to subscribe, to follow. So for example, there's only 266 followers of the Minot's Twitter page. Now, what's great about that is, let's be realistic, not all parents can come to a meeting after school or in the evening. You know, I worked all day, I got to feed the kids, I got to get in basketball practice. I don't have time to go to a meeting, but I still want to give my input. How do you do that? Well, I can sit at basketball practice, open up my Twitter feed. Oh, Minot Public Schools is asking a question. They want my feedback. I can send the feedback just like that. Now, there is a cost, and the cost would be you have to have somebody monitoring the site so they can gather the data and then bring it to cabinet and eventually to the board. But if we really want to engage our community, we need to start utilizing either Parent Square or something and then having somebody manage that. Sorry, next question.
As superintendent, how would you delegate authority while maintaining accountability? Please explain the action you would take in detail.
Well, you heard my spiel already. I know I don't know everything. I'm going to rely big time on the cabinet. So delegating is not going to be a problem. Something that I learned from watching the superintendents that I work with, there are very superintendent, not specific, superintendent tasks that only the superintendent can do. Working with the board, for example. That's going to be my job if I'm the superintendent. I truly believe that if we ever run a bond on here, that's my job, to run the bond campaign with support from the cabinet. So delegating is not going to be a problem. How do you keep accountability? That's where those meetings come in. How are things going? Give me feedback. I want to know what's going on. If something, let's say I give a task to an assistant superintendent and they come back with the results and it's not what I thought it was going to be, even though we've been in communication. Okay, now the first thing I need to do as the leader is ask myself, okay, was I clear? There's a little saying, clear as kind. I cannot hold somebody accountable if I wasn't clear with what I was expecting. So the first question is, was I clear? And let's say I wasn't. Let's say I reflected that, I really wasn't. So then the conversation would be something like, that really didn't meet my expectations, but as I thought about it, I was not clear with you. And I need to apologize to you, and let's figure out how we can make this and fix this. Now, if I wasn't clear, that's a different conversation. And I have been telling everybody today, I really believe in separating the person from the behavior or whatever. So for example, that really didn't meet my expectations. I was really clear. Let's talk about this. Explain to me what happened. I can still care about the person and try to fix, coach, whatever happened. So that's really important to me. I don't know if that's detailed enough, but that's how I would answer that question.
I'm the next person to ask questions. So how will you go about retaining and recruiting staff in all areas of the public school district?
So if you haven't figured out already, I'm kind of I like research, only as a starting point. So what does research say about teacher retention? There's a study out there that says that 1/3 of all teachers that leave the profession do so for personal reasons. They have spouses got a job out of town, so they have to move. Having a baby, I don't want to go back to work, that kind of thing. Well, obviously, we can't do much about that. But of the other 2/3, the two main reasons they leave, they don't feel supported, and they're overwhelmed. Okay, so how are we going to address that? Well, when I hear the word I don't feel supported, I usually think of student behavior in the classroom. I'm not getting the support I need from my administrators so I can teach my classes. I can talk about that more if you want, just ask me to follow up. The other one is overwhelmed. And, it is overwhelming. But it's also the job we've got to do, so how can we make it less overwhelming? Now, did I already talk to you about trust in this meeting? Okay, so there's a study out there that took all these organizations and asked the employees, how would you rate the trust in this company that you work for, business or whatever? And they divided those companies up into high trust, low trust. That's how the employees perceived where they worked. And then they asked them a series of questions. And one of the questions they asked was, what's your stress level? The stress level in the high trust organizations was 74% less than the low trust. Same work, basically, same areas of economics, 74% less, that's huge. They were more productive, they wanted to be at work, they took less days off sick. Building a high trust relationship in school district is critical to me. Now, from what I can read from the Rainmaker report, it sounds like there is quite a bit of trust in this district already. There are some pockets there that are missing. I don't understand those yet. I would need to learn what that is. But we would need to improve upon that trust and fill those voids so that, then how do you build trust? Well, kind of what I just shared with you just a little bit ago. You give people a meaningful task to do, give them the discretion to do it, and recognize it when they have done great work. And then the last piece is you build relationships. I truly believe that having a relationship can help solve a lot of problems. So again, the person, I can care about the person, I can coach and correct the behavior if there's something wrong. That's critical to me.
Please describe your experience in developing a crisis management plan, and how do you plan to ensure safe learning in the environment for our students and a safe working environment for our staff?
Part of my role as assistant superintendent was I also supervised safety and security. And we were super lucky. We had a very knowledgeable safety and security director. And so we were working on a crisis action plan. I'm not going to go to all the details, but I'll give you a quick example. One of the things that we did to help our staff, we created flip charts that were super simple to use, so that bomb threat, here's what I do. Intruder in the building, here's what I do. Intruder outside the building, here's what I do. So they didn't remember it. We had them posted on their cabinet or wall or whatever, so it was visible, so it wasn't shoved in drawers like, where did I put that? Put it up, And that was really effective, I think, for relieving their tension, because they knew what to do. Another quick example, in a lot of our buildings, not all of them, you could only lock the door from the outside of the room. So some of our teachers wanted to teach with the door shut, so their doors were unlocked. Well, if you have an intruder in the building, you have to go out, lock the door, and then come back in. That's not safe. Simple solution. We found these little magnetic strips that we put on the door jamb. So the doors were always locked. If you were one of those teachers that liked to teach with the door shut, it would slide shut, but it wouldn't engage. Then if you had a security situation, open the door 3 inches, pull the tab off, you're shut, you're locked, you're good. If you like to teach your door with your door open and get the door stuff out, shut the door, you're back to being safe. So just a couple little things that we did. Again, I need to see what the protocols are, what you already have in place to see what the gaps are, but I've helped work on those projects.
Are there any ideas or programs that you are doing in a current school district or in your last or most relevant district that you would like to see implemented at Minot Public Schools?
I would say social emotional learning, but you've already got that. That was a big thing that we brought in. I told you I liked project-based learning. So what I did was, this was actually as a principal. It was one of the vision elements that our board wanted more information on. And so the superintendent asked me and the other people to lead a committee to do some research into that. So I presented to the board the pluses and minuses of project-based learning. They ended up not moving forward with it. But since I was the building principal, I started asking some teachers in my building, hey, what do you think about trying this? And found a couple of teachers that were interested. It was, students loved it. They provided that relevance that they were lacking in some of their classes. So I would like to look into that a little bit more, honestly.
Describe for us a time when an idea or a plan of yours was strongly opposed by either administrators, principals, teachers, or some other group. How did you react to that, and what was the final outcome?
Well, first, I will tell you that it is very, very hard to push my buttons. So again, as the assistant superintendent, I can't even tell how many complaints I got the time I was there. And parents would come in hot because it was their baby that was being, something was done wrong to. And I can honestly say that it happened all the time, but very often, they may not have left smiling, but they left at least knowing that I was going to try to address the situation. So I'm a very calm person professionally. I love to laugh though. I love to tell jokes. I was telling cabinet, I really want to have a relationship where we can tease and joke with one another, because if we can't have fun with one another, then when the hard conversations come, it can shatter your working relationship. So, I'm sorry, I forgot the first part. Oh, so, yeah. This wasn't, the only thing that's popping in my mind is, it wasn't strongly opposed, but there was some definite difference in opinions on what to do. We had a situation where our busing, we had our own busing system, and our buses went way out. I mean, big, large area that we had a bus run, to the point where we had some students on the bus for over 2 hours, one direction. So I was like, okay, we gotta do something to fix this. I worked with the transportation director, said, can we do something different? We got other options. Yeah, but you're not gonna like it. We have 2 different start times. We have elementary start at one time, and then an hour later, secondary starts, or vice versa. So, presented that to the board, the idea, and then got feedback from, again, community stakeholders, because when you mess with the busing system, you mess with the parents' schedules. And that's, so, do we do sport? Do we do elementary first? Do we do secondary first? And it really came down to this question. For the parents that had 2 children, one in secondary, one in elementary, who do you want to leave at home alone before schools? And who do you want to leave home after school? And most parents are like, well, I'm not leaving my baby home. You know, I have to go to work. They can't stay at home until 8:30 to get on the bus by themselves. But they were willing to let their secondary child do that. So, and we had a lot of after-school activity programs in our district. So parents could find, you know, parents could leave their child there at school for a very small fee. Then they could pick them up when they got off work. So it was safer. So we pushed that forward, and there was, you know, there was some pushback. You know, well, then these sports got to start an hour later, and it means this is going to have an hour later. And yeah, but I think this is best for our kids.
How would you build a good working relationship between the board and the superintendent? Please cite any examples, including board trainings or things that you think would be pertinent, and how would this relationship work?
So I'm a superintendent, so as an assistant superintendent, just like you're Kevin, we attend adult board meetings, we visit with the board, go to workshops, conferences with them, get to know them as people. We were all on a first name basis. We had a very positive working relationship with, I'd say with all the board members that I worked with. I'm sorry to ask this question. Is there a question coming up about our roles, or is this kind of the time to talk about our working relationship and roles and expectations?
I feel that there's a few other questions that are related to board connection, but I think that you can sure expound and give us the information that you'd like to provide now.
Okay, I may just say ditto. Questions, okay. So let's talk about our relationship. Here's the way I see it. If you would ask me, what does a board do? You know, somebody off the street, what does a board do? What's their three main things they have to do? Well, I would say, well, first of all, you're a board. And that's a key word, board. It's not one of you, it's five of you. I don't take direction from one person. I take direction from all five of you. That's really critical. You're a board that represents the community. Obviously, you've been elected, you've got people that you represent. The hard part of that, and we all know this, is you don't get, I'm assuming you're like our district, you don't get a lot of phone calls that say, hey, that Superintendent Helm's doing a great job, keep it up, or Board President Gester, you're doing an amazing job, keep it up. You get the complaints, right? So it's knowing when to respond to those complaints and when to sit on it for a while. That's the hard part. So the board, representing the community, governs the district. So what does govern the district mean? Here's the way I like to think about it. Here's a circle, here's a line. Board stays above the line, which means ensuring academic achievement of our students, monitoring our budget, monitoring our facilities and safety and security of our district. That's the basic three things you do. And of course, most of the time you're spending is on our student achievement. So below the line is all the rest of us doing the work that you are directing us to do. Now the superintendent kind of goes back and forth. My job is to give you the best information I can so you make the best decisions you can. And then to work with staff underneath to meet board goals and mission, vision, and direction. So here's an example. I know, again, the Rainmaker survey, there's some concern about communication. So you could say to me as a board, Superintendent, we're really concerned about this area of communication. We think that should be one of your first priorities. Okay, great. You've given me direction. Now I go back and we start working on that. What you don't say is, we're about communication, we want you to start working on this, and we think you need to hire a communication director. Okay, time out. That may be what we do, but that's our work to figure out what's best for our system. It'd be like the board saying, we think you should adopt a new reading curriculum, and we think you should pick this one. That's our job. You give us the direction, we'll go figure out the best answers and keep you informed all along the way, of course. So that's how I see our relationship, and then what we do is, as we are working, we keep reporting back to you, so we can do what's called a PDSA cycle, plan, do, study, adjust. So you've created the goals, we go down, do the work, we collect data, we bring it back to you, we study it, and then either we make adjustments because we're not meeting the goals we thought we wanted to meet, or you adjust your board goals because, hey, we just met that goal, let's create another one. So it's a constant back and forth with us.
walking.
Can you tell us about your experience in strategic planning? Who should be involved in this process? And how do you proceed with building a time to accomplish the plan?
Never been a soup, so I haven't done that. And what I've been telling everybody here is I know I don't know everything, so what I would probably do, to be honest with you, is get outside help. There's tons of organizations out there that can help us, help me the first time I've done a strategic plan, work through the process. So I'm not afraid to ask for help when needed. But generally speaking, this is a public school. That means we're owned by the public. So we need to get the feedback of our community, parents. Everybody that we meet with today needs to be at the table to help guide the strategic planning process. So, I mean, that's a really short answer, but I think that's kind of, and then communication all the time.
What should parents and taxpayers expect from the schools in terms of their children and their tax dollars?
Obviously, our main job is student academic achievement. So they should expect their child to graduate college, career, military ready. They should expect their child to be able to go to school and be safe and have caring adults that are part of their lives. You know, one of the questions I've been asking people is, what do you love about the school district? And they say, and I've heard from multiple groups, I love it. I love our teachers. They've cared about my child. Even the students this morning, I love our teachers. So we've got some great things going here that I want to make sure we continue, but that's my answer for that.
What successful public relation initiatives have you implemented or have you been significantly involved with? What difficulties have you experienced in this area and how have you handled it?
Can you define public relations? Are we talking about, okay. Well, I guess I'll answer that a couple different ways. The superintendent always led all the levy and bond campaigns, but I was always part of the process. So work with our community, get the word out, flyers, you know, all that stuff. I don't think this is what you're asking. I'm not going to say it because it doesn't apply. So I have not had much experience with that.
How would you go about building a relationship with businesses and other local entities in our community?
Well, obviously, if I'm going to be moving halfway across the country here, I'm going to create roots again. I've literally lived in Wenatchee, except for 7 years. I've lived in Wenatchee since first grade. I know where things are. I know who to go see. I would need to do that here. So the way I see that is, I'm going to be a Minot citizen and a Minot superintendent. So there are times when I need to be out there just as a citizen, being involved in Host Fest and doing whatever is going on out there. But then there's times I need to be out there as the superintendent, which could mean speaking publicly, making a presence because they expect it of the superintendent. So I see kind of a two-part process for me. You know, my wife's really into tennis, so I went and looked at the camera into her courts yesterday, and that's really important to her. You know, we're going to be part of the community, just like you all are. I don't know how you do that other than just do it.
What is the role of the superintendent in stimulating the staff towards professional growth and self-improvement?
So trust relationships is key. The other piece that is key is we have to be able to make sure that we're not overloading our staff, which includes principals. Because remember, every initiative we give at every building, the superintendent is expected to carry forward that initiative. So if even if the staff could handle it, excuse me, let's say a secondary where it's more content driven. Let's say we had a math, a reading, a science, and an SEL initiative. It affected different people, so nobody had any more than one initiative. The principal still has 4 initiatives. They're trying to promote and push forward. So that's overwhelming for them. So here's the thing about initiative development and professional development. Initiatives, we do it wrong in education. We really do. We're pretty good at setting the stage. Here's why we need to do this new reading curriculum. Our scores are not very good, whatever. We're good at laying the groundwork and doing the research and picking good curriculum. We're good at that first year where we provide great support for our teachers, we do professional development, and we're checking in with them all the time. We can do a pretty good job at the second year. But then what happens is we say, okay, they got it, next thing. And the research says that's wrong. Research says you need to have a focused initiative for 4 to 5 years before you move on to the next one. And again, I get it. We have a lot of areas of concern. We want to address this, want to do better for our kids, so we got to move to the next thing. But we can do a lot of things poorly, or do a few things really, really well, and be okay with it. And to be quite honest with you, you guys have got to be okay with that. That we're okay going 4 to 5 years on one initiative before we get another one to our elementary teachers, because they teach all subjects, for example. You can probably handle 2. Probably handle 2 initiatives at a time. More than that is going to be overwhelming. I don't know if I answered the whole question, but hopefully I did.
What would you intend?
Get a turn on you.
Just go to the right.
Okay, try that again. What would you intend your major contribution would be as superintendent of this district?
What would I intend?
What would you intend your major contribution would be as superintendent of this district?
Well, I think that goes back to what I talked about with the transition plan. I can't answer that because I don't know what is Atlanta Public Schools right now. But I guess generally speaking, I would want to make sure we have a healthy, strong, caring, respectful school district where student achievement is, where all students are growing academically and feel safe coming to school. So I can't answer that until I know what is, but that's what I got to say.
What is the best way for our board to be sure it stays on target? How would you help the board become more effective?
You've got a vision statement, you've got a mission statement, we have a vision statement, we've got goals. So as long as you're focusing on those goals and on the big picture topics, we're gonna be going in the right direction. It's my job to help. Okay guys, we're getting a little bit off track here, let's get back onto the major issues of our district. So our working relationship can be really critical to your success as a board and our success in the school district.
Can you give an example of a time when you have had a difficult conversation with an employee? Are you willing to have these conversations when needed? I think you've shared a little bit of that already, but
I've shared my style, yes. As a principal, I'll try to make a long story short. When I became the principal at Pioneer, we had a staff member who was struggling. She'd been there long before I got there. And it wasn't like every year was terrible. It was, okay, this year was bad, the next year was okay, and the next year was decent. And then so it was kind of up and down. And eventually, she had some personal issues that were affecting her ability to positively interact with her students. And so even though I've been coaching her and trying to give her feedback and trying to help and support her, it wasn't working. So then I worked with the union president to try and develop a plan with her, and it became obvious that it was not going to work. Even the union president recognized this isn't going to work. And so we worked together to encourage that staff member to retire. She was eligible for retirement, so we did that. Just so you know, my focus is never to get rid of a teacher or get rid of a staff member. First is to coach and help them improve, but the second piece is, are they on the right seat of the bus? I'll give you an example. We hired a gal who to teach one of our core classes, which core for us is language arts and social studies, and highly recommended from another district. So she's a veteran teacher, but new to us. And it was obvious to me within the first year that she's struggling. Okay, it's just her first year, she'll get it. Second year, still struggling. What's going on? She became highly recommended. As I watched her teach, it became obvious to me she loved teaching reading. That was kind of like her thing. Well, it just so happened that year, our title reading teacher retired. So I said to the teacher, hey, what do you think about moving to this position? She did amazing. She did amazing work with those kids and helping them improve their reading. So if we can improve their practice, let's do it. If we have to find a different seat on the bus, let's do it. Then we talk about, okay, this isn't working. Let me help you reach your goals. I'm saying this sarcastically, but somewhere else, because it's not working here.
Can you talk about your experiences with school improvement? What role do you think the superintendent should play in the school improvement process?
So when you say school improvement, first thing that pops in my mind is my school was identified. We had different tiers of school improvement in Washington State, and we were the first level, I guess you want to call it. So that's what I think of. And the superintendent role in that, if that's what you're talking about, is more to provide support for the principal to lead the building improvement, which, again, wouldn't be me. It would be the appropriate assistant superintendent helping support that principal and his staff. Again, we had a director of teaching and learning, so that person would be involved. If we have somebody like that, they would be involved as well. So my job is to help the people underneath do the work to help the principal improve their practice in their school.
How would you work with the Miami Air Force Base leadership, a small city in itself, on issues related to the schools on base that are a part of the Miami Public School District that you lead and manage?
Zero experience with Air Force bases. I'm just gonna tell you right now. So I've golfed there. I've golfed the Air Force Base, but I've not done anything else there. So that would be a whole new learning curve for me, and I'm not gonna waste your time with saying something else, so yeah.
Tell us about a time something did not go well with a staff member or a patron. What was the solution? What did you do? What was the outcome? I think you alluded to one example already. Is there another one?
Yeah, I'll give you another example. I had a teacher who, I believe was a really good teacher, really innovative, willing to try different approaches, but she thought that using sarcasm was funny and creating relationships with her kids. It was not. It was actually doing just the opposite. So I talked to her. It would get better for a while. I had to go talk to her again. Finally, it became to the point where, okay, we need to have a meeting. You need to have a meeting representation in the room. And I found out later she was really nervous, really scared. But basically the way I handled it was, teacher, I'm not gonna say her name. You are one of the best teachers I have. You are innovative, you try different approaches, you do project-based learning, you are amazing. But this piece of sarcasm is ruining your relationship with your students. I know you think it's bringing you together, but it's not. And we talked through it. She walked out of the room, she stopped and said, thank you. I thought I was gonna be in trouble, and I feel better now. Thank you. So you're not always gonna get that response, but in this case, that's what happened.
Thank you. Tell us about a time when an initiative or a project you initiated or worked on failed or didn't succeed. What would you do different next time?
So I was interested in standards-based grading in the district was not necessarily, and they didn't mind if I did, the superintendent gave me permission to do so, but I started leading our building into the process of standard-based grading and teaching and learning, okay? Did the whole process. I'm not gonna go through all of it, set the stage, explain to people how this worked, give professional development the year before, the year of implementation, continue that support. Here's where I went wrong. The superintendent said, you can do that, but when it comes time for report cards, You still have to get an ABCDF. Okay? Put a committee of teachers together with the director of technology. Okay, we need to find a software platform that can do this work, that we can do 4-3-2-1, hit a button and convert it to an ABCDF. Oh yeah, we got stuff out there. We looked at different options and we picked something that I thought, okay, I'm gonna trust you. You're the director of technology, I'm gonna trust you. It was a disaster. So number one learning, software companies always overpromise and underdeliver. That's the number one learning from that. But it was also my fault in the sense that it could do most of what we wanted. It could, the input of the data and showing the 4-3-2-1, that was great. It was the converting to the ABCDF it did not do. I should have made sure that, okay, show me an example. I want to see it actually do the work before we take it on. Now, luckily, actually that same teacher I was just talking about loved technology, and she was able to figure out a workaround. It was cumbersome, but we made it work. The next year, we dumped it and went to a different platform that worked. So, live and learn.
Okay, thank you. What is a personal opinion you've had and changed in the past year?
Wow, okay. The Seahawks aren't very good. That's changed. The Seahawks aren't very good. So personal opinion have changed. I cannot think of anything. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions of us?
Sure. What, I'm gonna ask you the two questions from the Rainmaker, from my transition plan. What do you love about this district? And then I'll ask you what are the obstacles and challenges you see ahead. So first, what do you love about the district?
Anyone want to take that on?
Or a thing about the district you love.
I like the community. It's a place I've known most of my life. I look for the best in almost all the people I run into. There's a few that I look for the best. I look for the best in the kids. For the students. I think we have parents send their students to school to learn, but they also for us to keep them safe and if we can get them there every day, we can teach them. I might be off. What
No, just whatever
your question was?
Whatever you want to say.
I think we have an amazing group of people. They work very hard. We've had a lot of things, as you alluded to. We get a lot of things on our plate that come from the state that also, that we have to carry forward. That maybe we're a little overwhelmed at times. We were overwhelmed during COVID. Some students staying home that really should have been in school. It would have been to their best interest. And as you've talked about student attendance, if we got them there every day, I've taught for 47 years. If I got them there every day and trying their best, doing their work at least, I mean, they feel pretty satisfied. But I know if I miss a day here and miss a day there, then pretty soon I'm behind. And when I get overwhelmed a little bit, I don't want to show what I know, what I don't know, to the rest of my fellow students, so I'm not going to show. And but I think we make a concerted effort to try to get students to come every day. That we are trying to be a friendly place, a place for students to be, and for parents to send their children to. Anybody else?
I would say hands down, it's our people. Hands down. We have really, really great teachers that really, really care.
I've heard that a lot today.
And I mean, we're really, really lucky. And that's why, for me, teacher retention is just so critical because, you can't replace that. It's really hard to replace. And people are coming out of school, but then you're losing, the knowledge base that they have and that connection to students. Those are things you learn. You don't know all of that when you come out of school. And so
to lose teachers to either other, I don't know, other careers, or, you know, to lose them before we really need to, that makes me sad, because I went to school in this district and I had teachers that I loved and they were there the whole time. And I get to see some of those people, some of them sit on the board with me. I just think they're really kind of the key part of really kind of the heartbeat, to be really honest. I think we have great, great teachers who care about our kids. And I should say staff, just not teacher related too. I mean, we have great staff that really help our students for sure. They care.
Anyone else?
Mine is a great place to live. There's all kinds of things. The school district is great, the recreation facilities are great, the churches are great. We are a good place to live. We'd be very honored to live here.
And I'll say I love our organization here as a school district, and I feel proud out in the community because I hear far more compliments than I do complaints, and also thanking me for serving, and I think generally speaking, it shows that mine's really pretty proud of our school system, and also our Minot Air Force Base. I'm the liaison from the Minot School Board to the base school board. And I've heard from several board members out there over the years that they've been around the country and they absolutely love the Minot school system for their kids. And so I'm proud to be part of that, and proud of our entire school system.
If there isn't anything else, I have one last thing to say unless there's something else.
Nope.
I have really tried hard today in all the meetings I've had to share with everybody who I am. The most important thing for me is that if you choose me as your superintendent, that this works. I don't want you in December of next year thinking, who the heck is this guy? That's not who we thought we were hiring. So I've been really trying hard to do that, and I want to just, I've said this sometimes, specifically sometimes in referring to it, but my core values, I think you need to know, because that's going to help you make a decision. It's respect, which my definition is treat others the way you want to be treated. It's humility, which today has been totally opposite because I've been talking about myself the whole time, but you ask anybody, when answer, they're going to tell you I'm a humble person, which reflects back on my leadership style, which is others before self. And others before self is students and staff, in my mind. Integrity, if I tell you something, you can trust that's the truth, or at least the best knowledge that I have, and I'm going to stand by what I believe. And the last thing is family forward, which means I'm going to make mistakes. We all do. I'm hoping that you and the community and the staff and everybody will give me grace. I'll learn from it, and we'll move on and make better decisions next time. But if you're not learning, if you're not making mistakes, you're not learning. If you're not learning, you're not growing. If you're not growing, you're rotting. So that's what I'm going to say.
Anyone else? Thank you. Anything else that we have? Well, I'm going to close this meeting of the Minot Public Schools.